session. What does that mean for the rest of the weekend?
It's always tough, these days. It's a full grid, right? We have 27
cars.
Yeah. It's a lot of people on track. I think, I'm sure there's individuals that didn't get a super clear lap, and there's probably more to be seen from everybody. So, you just account for that. I think we've accounted for that in other ovals, and you'll see the same thing here. But it's encouraging. I think our car was really good. I was happy. Took some tuning. The tire was very different on the low line tire that we ran. And then we went to the current tire, and it took a lot of work to get it where it needed to be. So, we got through that first 30 minutes, and then I was super happy with the car. So the team did a great job, feeling comfy and comfortable. I think Team Chevy did a good job too, at least from what I've seen preliminarily. So I'm excited. It's two good opportunities for us to have a nice result for Team Penske at the end of the year.
Yeah, Scott, for you, obviously, a little prior experience here, and certainly the open test that was here a month or so, a month and a half ago. What's changed since then? Anything?
It always feels different, especially when there's more cars. At our test there was only, I think, 7 cars, so dirty air was definitely more of a thing. The time management always through those sessions, we kind of missed a little bit of time, didn't get our second Q and so balance felt pretty good. Car had good balance to it. We tried lots of different things. 90% of them didn't really do anything good, so it's the way it rolls sometimes. But I think luckily enough for all of us, the cars ran off in a pretty good window.
We'll open up for questions. Edward's got a microphone, and so does Marissa. We'll start here. Bruce Martin, and we'll bounce back.
Does it feel different, similar? Did any of the old field come back, or does it feel like a completely new track?
From previous years, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, it feels similar. Well, it's different, compared to 2015 when we left, and we had the huge aero kit. It was a big downforce. You were pretty much just flat. So it's very different from 2015. Yeah, we're way exactly. So, we're way heavier. So from that standpoint, it's completely different. But I think it's still Milwaukee. Like sort of the general traits of this track are very much there underneath the surface. It's just a different car. It's a lot less downforce. It's heavier. Requires a different setup and different finesse. Like you got to look after things differently than you did 10 years ago. But it's same Milwaukee. There's a preferred line. There's kind of an alternate line that's not great but usable. So it's a very interesting track, and I think if we get some drop off, then there's going to be good racing, which I think everybody wants to see.
Scott?
Big Josef covered it all.
So I can take what he said and put your name at.
Sure. Just say I agree.
Dave?
So what should we expect in race 1 tomorrow?
It's hard to tell from these sessions. I think even from St. Louis, you didn't really get a great idea, and then as soon as the start when people use that second lane, and it was strong for the whole night. So I don't know. I'd say in the low line, I'm never really going to the low line. At least it didn't for me.
Yeah, I think it's he's right. You don't know with these sessions. Sometimes you sort of get an inkling on what you think is going to happen, and then things just kind of shift as you get through the race. I think Gateway was a very surprising result. I was super surprised the way it raced. So I don't know. Until we get through the first race, it's really tough to predict. It really, really is. I know you guys want an answer, and you think we'd have more of an idea. You get through that first round, and we're going to know exactly how it's going to race, and you'll know what you're getting for race 2. But right now, it's going to be interesting to see, who's strong. I think you'll have some big separation. Is one thing that I would say. I think you'll have cars that are really not good, and you'll have some cars that are really good. So that's one thing I predict.
It's a solid 8.5 second difference there on the board.
8.5 seconds.
Or miles an hour.
I was going to say that's they're getting parked pretty quick.
105% rule on that one. Let's go over here in the front row, and then Patrick, Steph, and then Nate after that. Go ahead.
So I know you just said it's hard to predict, but this is for both of you guys. Do you think it'll be everybody stuck to the bottom the whole time, or can you see it widening out and getting another
We're
groove?
going to be stuck to the top, man.
Stuck to the top.
I don't know. Like as Joseph said, I think in that practice, you definitely saw cars that were struggling. Again, you know, it's a practice session. You don't know what sequence they're on, what tyres they're on, so that gives, you know, not a great idea. But as Jenna pointed out, there's 8.5 seconds or miles an hour, same thing, I guess.
I'm really good at that. Super good at that.
There is a clear difference, and that will create separation. It definitely will be tough. You know, I don't think there's any moment you're doing a lap here and, you know, it feels easy. You know, you're constantly correcting. You're trying to, you know, manage how much grip you've got, how much you think you've got. It'll be tough.
Pat?
Tire day, marbles, could you guys talk about that a little bit? We saw Christian get up into the marbles a little bit. That's what caused him to push up into the wall in turn 2.
It's a weird one, man. I didn't see it. It's almost like he went straight in it. I don't see how that happened.
Straight for a long time.
Yeah. Was it Christian or oh, sorry, Rasmussen. Yeah, I'm thinking Lindgren.
Sorry.
If it was Ed, it wouldn't happen. I'm just kidding, I'm totally kidding.
Is there a lot of tire? What is the lap time drop off? Let me ask it more directly.
The tires peak you, I think, for the first 3 or 4 laps. But then, I don't know. It depends a lot on your sequence of where you are on air. You know, you lose way more just by following than I think the tire grip is.
With that said, then it does sort of possibly open us up to a pit early. You get newer tires are better than older tires situation. But is that only for 5 to 10 laps kind of thing?
Yeah. Then you might be stuck.
Nate, you have?
I have one for each. I'll start with Joseph. Will was telling us earlier today that you told him at Portland that you'd be willing to swap positions with him for points that came out in the end, like if you were 5th, he was 6th, 2nd, 3rd.
Look, yeah, what I told him, I said, look, it's too early now. I said, when it comes down to the finale, I've had great support from him in the past. And think about my first championship, right, in 2017. Like, he chatted the whole race. So when it comes down to the very end and we're still in position, you got to be really careful, though. And this is not me being cagey. It's just the truth. Like, if you start trying to orchestrate too much, you put yourself into a mess. And so I'm not going to do that. I don't think as a team we're going to try and do that. But you know, it's logical. You come down to the finale. We're sitting there in Nashville, and we got a car that can seal the championship. I'm not in it, then I'm going to have his back all the way. You know, 100%. So, but we're not in Nashville yet. You know, there's a long way to go. And if we try and get, you know, too clever about the way we run our team, I think you put yourself in a bad situation. So we need to go out and do the job we always do. We're going to race each other hard, but we need to take care of each other at the same time, right? I don't want to be crashing my teammates. When it comes down to the very end of it, if hopefully we're in a position to seal a championship, then we all want to see that happen, and especially me. I'll make sure that we get the job done.
As strong as Penske has been on the ovals, undefeated this year, especially strong on the short ovals, is there more emphasis for all 3 of you to kind of help Will, knowing that you can put a little bit of gap on Polo if you guys can finish 1, 2, 3? It kind of helps him. If he wins, that kind of helps him a little bit more. And, you know,
Yeah, it's kind of the same answer. You know, I mean, it applies to that question too. Like, you know, we're going to try and, you know, me running in normal conditions helping Will. You know, if he's off a little bit and I'm really good today, then he's going to know exactly why I was good today. You know, there's nothing hidden there. So we're going to go back and have a conversation like we always do. And if there's something that he's going to be, you know, benefiting from this, then he will. So we got to run our normal program. You know, we got to try and win these races, and hopefully we're in a position. You know, obviously our team wants to be in a position to win the championship. It's not easy though. Like, you know, yeah, Polo could have an issue on one race and then closes right up, or he could just have 2 great races, you know, like he normally does. So I don't think anything's a slam dunk or simple. We just got to run our races and try and do a great job, and hopefully we're in a position by the time we get to Nashville to close the deal.
And Scott, yesterday Kyle Kirkwood was telling us about how he apologized in a text apologizing for what happened at Portland lap 1, but he also said he felt like you wouldn't have done that to him, but he said like that's just kind of how everybody races now, like 90% of the field except for like you and Polo. Everybody just races that aggressively since Long Beach last year, essentially. Can you get your thoughts on all of that? I mean, do you feel like things have changed, if that's just the way things are now?
Yeah, we spoke today. Yeah, I don't know. It was definitely a FU move, and I explained that to him. You know, it's kind of amateur hour to do stuff like that. But it's also how the series allows you to race. So I don't know what the answer is on that, to be honest. But in my way of racing, you know, the outside, the white line there's a wall there, but you can't just run somebody completely completely off. You know, and then we saw the chain effect of what happened there, and then with Pietro, which Pietro really had nowhere to go, but it was because of the 27 and the issue that we had. So I don't know. I just, I said I wouldn't race him like that, and that was kind of the end of it. So.
He said he went to race control afterward. Said he wanted to have a conversation about this in the off season to kind of change it for 25. Are you on board with that?
I didn't speak to race control. I figured it would be on definitely. So.
Good time for one or two more, Jen.
2 questions. First one for Joseph. How'd you like the Josef Newgarden restart zone?
Didn't change. They're just painted.
They're just painted?
There's no difference. I mean, if you read the fine print, there's no rule change.
But you can see it's...
Yeah, I love that. I mean, when it was brought up, it was like, that's a great point. Why don't you just to make it subjective? I mean, we get a grayed out zone, and it's a little subjective of where it starts and where it finishes, right? It's a pretty big zone. You put a line, there's no subjectiveness. I love that. I think that's great. So, and I don't think the restart procedure needs to change. They've made some good changes this year, which were provoked by last year and the jumpiness that we've had this for 24 months. This jumpiness on restarts. But this another addition probably should have been done in the beginning. So I just think it's a clarification more than anything, which is good for everybody.
And then neither of you were in the bullpen, but one of the things that was discussed a lot is NASCAR got a race in Mexico City ahead of IndyCar. Pat was extremely disappointed in that. That spawned a conversation about where are some places that IndyCar could race. I know this guy probably would say down under, like, where would you guys want to go race if you had a wide open globe and map?
Mexico. I think that's a massive miss. I don't know how that happens.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to ask me. My dream tracks would be in like Japan. I'd be going to Japan.
Yeah.
I love the country, and I was sad I missed that era where they were running there. So that'd be on my list. Going to Spa, play old school tracks like that. Brands Hatch GP. You could
2 for Brands Hatch. That's 2 points.
Yeah, there's you could go on. The list would go on and on. There's a lot of legendary tracks out there. So yeah, I think there's some great stuff in the pipeline though. I really do. We got a lot of momentum, honestly. I mean, I'm excited about Fox coming on board next year. NBC's done a great job for us, but we're going to be turning the page and having a new chapter next year, and I think we should all be excited about that. And there's more stuff, to piggyback on with that deal. So I'm excited about 2025. We need to finish this year off right, but I think we got great momentum that can happen next year.
We're all really looking forward to Lebanon, Tennessee.
I've always wanted to race there. That's where I watched some of my very early IndyCar races. Was at Nashville Super Speedway. So I'm excited to go there. Huh?
Do you call it Nashville?
Nashville Super Speedway? Yeah.
All right, if the Nashville native calls it, then we'll stop calling it Lebanon.
I'll respect the name. Not scared to do it.
And Scott, a similar question for you, like Nate asked Joseph. What are the conversations like for you with Mike, with Chip, with Alex about how you guys approach these last 3 races, knowing that he's out front in the championship? I think you're still mathematically alive, but more than 100 points back. How will you guys approach if you guys find yourself around each other towards the end of the race? If there's an ability where swapping positions might be helpful for him. I know that might be different, first versus second place versus 5th versus 6th place. I'm just curious to know what you guys have thought about that.
I think Joseph explained it was pretty long, but I think he summed it up. So I agree with what he said. I think when it makes sense, it makes sense. Otherwise you just got to focus on your own thing. You always give your own teammates more room. You race them differently than you maybe do some other competitors. And in some situations, does it get emphasized when it's for a championship? Yeah, a little bit. So you just always hope that a team car doesn't play a big part in how that goes. But if it's within the other team stuff, then so be it.
Time for one. Barry, do you have one?
Gateway was such a great race in comparison to Iowa. And I remember years ago when we raced at Phoenix, I think, Scott, you were leading and caught up to Hinchcliffe, which was the back marker, and you never passed until you came into the pit. So with Firestone's tires, I understand that the left side are softer and they might degrade a little bit. Is that the same situation as Gateway?
They're 2 very different circuits. I don't know. You know, I think there was a little bit of hope with running the low line, which, you know, may help for tomorrow. Again, I think having good cars and bad cars, you're going to see that disparity as well. The problem is once you know, Iowa, all the cars were pretty close, to be honest. There was no real way to kind of get around even the last place one. So, yeah, I don't know. I'd just be speculating. I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. I hope there's side-by-side racing. I hope it's like St. Louis.
Joseph, you have any thoughts? No, you're good. Very good. Anyone else before we wrap up? Just Scott, before you go, just your thoughts. You've got a big number tomorrow, 400 starts. Just any thoughts on that?
It's a big number. Maybe 400 more.
Here's the next to the next 400. I guess. Yeah.
Steven Stump of FrontStretch.com here. Come back for more great racing videos, and if you like us, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.